If there's any chance that your project might be covered by Coppa, your next logical step is to post a privacy policy. And we've talked about privacy policies and why they're useful and what they're for, but let's talk about privacy policies in the context of Coppa. So the privacy policy must clearly and comprehensively describe how personal information is collected from kids under 13. The notice must describe not only your practices, but also the practices of others collecting personal information on your service. So this includes plugins and ad networks, analytics companies, marketing companies who might look at your analytics, etc. And so this is business as usual with a privacy policy, that you say generally how your information is handled, but this is particularly geared towards kids under 13. If you run a website, you should include a link to your privacy policy in your homepage and anywhere else you collect personal information from children. Again, this is a pretty standard idea for any privacy policy, that it should be easily accessible and it should be in any place where you might be collecting information, especially if you've created an app. Ideally, your privacy policy should be linked to and accepted in the same screen that your terms of use is. So if you've taken my terms of use course, or if you've learned anything else about terms of use, you should know that privacy policies and terms of use are generally intrinsically linked. And so they're, for an app where you can't necessarily have a link to the privacy policy on every single screen, or even the home screen sometimes, the best place to acknowledge that a privacy policy exists is the same screen that you have people accept your terms of use on, or on the same screen that someone might be registering for the app and submitting their information. If your site or app is directed to a general audience, but you have a separate section for kids, it seems like common sense, but it's worth saying that you should post your privacy policy conspicuously on the homepage of the kids portion of the site or app as well. And so if you have an app that is normally geared towards adults, but now you have a new app that's geared towards kids, like for example, Google just came out with their kids-centric YouTube app, you're going to want to make sure that in that place more than ever, the privacy policy is easy to find, because that's the place where the FTC is most likely to have a problem with you if you don't link there. Links to your privacy policy should be clear and prominent. As with any other privacy policy consideration, you should consider using a larger font or a different color type on a contrasting background when you put it on your website. And so this makes sure that it's conspicuous enough so users can see it and they can't necessarily argue that they didn't know it existed, and you can't necessarily be accused of hiding the policy so people couldn't find it. And just as a large font on a contrasting background is good, a small font that isn't distinguishable from any other links on the site isn't really ideal. So it's two sides of the same coin. And that's all for now about the placement of the privacy policy. In the next video, we'll talk about how, not how, but what should be written into the privacy policy to make it compliant with Coppa.